It is officially that time of the year. It is draft season. I can see Justin is already super hyped that we're officially going to do our first live of the year where I expect to talk nothing other than draft. So, we got the NFL scouting combine right around the corner. Next Tuesday is going to be the first day where we get to speak to general managers and coaches. So I figured, oh, it's time. I'm still trying to shake that loss, shake this off season. So why not? Let's dive into draft season right now. You guys already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat. Smash that like button. Let's smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, gang? Hopefully you are surviving this off season. I'm doing my best as possible to be able to get through all this good stuff. But hey, I figured it's now or never. We better get started on the NFL draft. And Tony says, Brad, are you going to Indy? Yes, I will be flying out on Monday. So I'll fly out Monday, get in super late, and then we will be able to talk to I think Jason was just texting me. John Lynch is going to be speaking at 2 on Tuesday, so we have an opportunity to talk to John Lynch. Amongst other GMs and coaches. So thankfully, I'll be able to go to Indy, do the combine thing, take my mind off this off season so far, and hopefully that will be able to kind of shake the cobwebs loose and kind of get re-energized to talk about football again. Because damn, it is painful. Still, I just so I'm not going to focus on that. I don't want to focus on that. That's why we're doing draft season now, to not focus on that. So, let's talk about some draft stuff. Just let's start off by this, since we're going to ease our way into draft season. And again, I want to be crystal clear. Draft season is my favorite, like arguably my favorite time of the year, especially for the off season. I love scouting. I love player evaluation. It's actually the thing that has got me started on the SF Niners brand. It really was me wanting to get into some type of evaluation, some type of draft, something. I knew as a player that I could evaluate talent as a player. So that was something that I kind of held on to, that, I knew I wasn't going pro. I knew I wasn't going to do any of that, but I wanted to do something around draft evaluation. Well, I had no connections, no mentorship, nothing, no idea. How do I get into this? I don't know. I like the 49ers. I'm really good at social media. Let's create a brand so I can talk about draft prospects. That covers the San Francisco 49ers. And hey, we'll just keep it at home and we'll talk about prospects that the 49ers need, all that good stuff. And here we are. The obviously have evolved quite a bit in what we do here, but the foundation of what we do here is actually built on player evaluation. So I will share with you other people's evals. We'll talk about it, But when it comes to draft season, I'm really big on sticking true to my evaluation. Just as I would say to you, if you are new to kind of the player evaluation process and all these different types of things, you're definitely going to be leaning on other people's opinions for like confirmation. But honestly, once you do it long enough, you don't need that anymore. You trust your eyes, you trust what you've learned, and you just go out and you do what we do. You just do what you do. You go evaluate talent. So for me, I don't rely on others. I will see what people that I trust think or believe, but at the end of the day, I trust my eyes so much that I've gone to into battle with some of your biggest draft analysts in the media, and I have won the evaluation war. And that's the beautiful thing about draft season and kind of where we're at, is that we can all look at one prospect and we can all come away with different opinions. We can all come away with different evaluations. And that's why the draft is an imperfect science. And that's why guys like Brock Purdy go with the last pick. That's why quality players go undrafted and you get busts at the top of the draft. That's just how it works. So, and the biggest thing about draft evaluation is projection. You're evaluating what they are now, but you're also evaluating what they're going to be. So that's the biggest thing, is you can't just look at who they are now. You have to try to project out how they will develop, improve. You can even grow in size. When you're looking at prospects that are 21, 20 years old, you have to assume that they're actually going to continue to grow and get bigger and stronger. So that's the biggest thing. So as we get prepared for the combine and we get prepared for putting our scouting hats on and getting back into the saddle of player evaluation, I'm excited. And obviously, what we're going to do throughout draft season is we are going to identify needs, and then we are going to try to fill those needs with the best prospects possible. So that's going to be my first question to you guys. Rank the 49ers top 3 draft needs. Drop it in the comments, and then we will start to get into individual guys. Again, this is just we're just more of a collaborative stream than anything else. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think the top 3 needs are in the draft? Because needs in free agency, needs in draft, those are 2 different things. When you're typically turning to free agency, you want guys who can contribute right away. And of course, you want guys in the draft who can contribute right away, but you're also looking at guys through the draft who can potentially be developed and sit behind a guy for a year or 2. And again, project out. So what are the top 3 that you think the 49ers should address in the draft? I know what's going to be an extremely popular one is going to be the offensive line, which happens to be my specialty. So that works out well. So I have the sneaking suspicion that I'm going to be breaking down a lot of offensive linemen this year just to watch the 49ers not draft them. But hey, that's fine. I'm used to this. This is one of the bigger trends within the San Francisco 49ers kind of front office, is they are hard to track down when it comes to trying to identify what offensive lineman they like and if they will actually take an offensive lineman. So I'm typically a guy who finds 2 to 3 to 4 offensive linemen every single year that I want the 49ers to take, regardless of depth, all of it. You just find those guys. So I'm definitely going to be on the hunt for offensive linemen, but I'm definitely not getting my my hopes up. For top 3 needs the 49ers should address in the draft: offensive tackle, center, cornerback. I think those are definite needs, and especially from a developmental standpoint, offensive tackle, Colton McKivitz is still under contract next year. Center, obviously Jake Brendel's under contract, but why not start grooming a guy who can not only potentially replace Brendel in the future, but could potentially fill in at guard if you needed it. So I'm all for the offensive line. I'm big on it. We'll see. We'll see if the 49ers come around and draft some offensive linemen this year. Let's have another edge rusher. Absolutely. Again, I think people get upset when the San Francisco 49ers draft defensive linemen. Honestly, I'm at first, I think early on, I was kind of like, man, we really do just draft nothing but defensive linemen in the first round. But I understand it. I understand it with how much the 49ers rotate their defensive tackles. And, they want 10 to 11 quality defensive tackles on the active. So they use them. They use them all. I mean, we see injuries happen where guys have to step in. So I'm all for building through the trenches. Jeffrey says O-line, DB, LB. Linebacker, I think, is one for sure that we're going to have to look at, especially with the Dre Greenlaw injury. Oren Burks is a free agent. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles is a free agent. So I think as of right now, the only healthy linebackers currently on the team, not including the guys that were signed to future reserve contracts, are Fred Warner, D. Winters, and Jalen Graham. So linebacker could absolutely be a position that we are looking for. Absolutely. Center, guard, right tackle. So offensive line in general, basically, one of the things that we're going to notice throughout this draft process and the draft season is that you're going to notice a trend that offensive tackles kick down to guard. It's a trend we've been seeing for the last couple years now. So we're going to continue to see it. They want long, athletic bodies on the interior, but the positives of that is that you are going to get more traditional squatty body guards and centers who are going to get pushed back in the draft, and you'll be able to get some quality guys late. So, hey, I'm all for the offensive line. And again, the big trend right now is finding those tackles that can convert and kick down to the inside and play guard in the NFL. Kind of get those 6'5", 6'6" frames, long arms, long legs, nice hip bend, and just kick him on the inside. That way you can still get some length, get some speed. Cornerback, right tackle, O-line, defensive tackle, edge, O-line to DB, D-line. So I'm seeing a lot of trenches, and I like it. This fits well into my wheelhouse. So I see lots of trench work. Oh yeah. Callie's like, give me all the trenches. Wide receiver, I would consider also another specialty of mine. I feel very confident in my ability to scout wide receiver. Cornerback, I'm pretty confident in my ability to scout cornerback as well. I have specific traits that I look for in cornerbacks. So, like, I think back to, man, who was that dude that came out, was drafted by Jacksonville, I think. I think in the top 12, it was a couple years ago. Was it Henderson? Does that sound familiar? I don't know why the name's completely escaping me right now. But he was regarded as like this almost like blue chip cornerback, and dude didn't tackle, like literally refused to tackle. And I was like, no, no, thank you. Nope. That's not a guy that I think is gonna find success in the NFL. And I think he was traded after his first year. I think he's been benched since. So I do have a very specific archetype that I look for cornerbacks. Um, I think of like Greg Newsome when he was coming out of Northwestern. Absolutely loved Greg Newsome. Thought he was so dope. And he's turned into a really good cornerback in the NFL for sure. They're going to draft another defensive tackle. Well, I mean, if you think about it, their two starting defensive tackles are getting older in Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave. Kinlaw's a free agent, and Kevin Givens is a free agent. So both their backup defensive tackles are free agents. So yeah, I could absolutely see them going defensive tackle, but I could also see them going defensive tackle, trying to find like a fifth round guy, fourth or fifth round defensive tackle. But honestly, it's going to be fascinating to see how this thing stacks out. Right guard, defensive tackle, tight end, underrated position group of need. Underrated position group of need. I was definitely kind of pounding the table last year for the 49ers to draft a tight end, just because outside of Kittle and Warner, didn't really trust anyone. But they did go and they drafted two tight ends, and they drafted Cameron Latu, and they drafted Braden Willis. I didn't love the Latu pick. Felt like it was a bit of a reach, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what Latu can do next year. I don't think Latu's a throw him in the trash kind of a guy. I think he needs some time to develop. So hopefully this year on IR, just kind of basically taking a redshirt year, he'll be able to develop a little bit further. Definitely felt like 49ers could have got Latu in the fifth if they wanted. But they wanted to make sure they got their guy, so they got him at the end of the third. I think there at the end of in the fifth, I was looking at Davis Allen. I think Davis Allen could wind up being the Rams starting tight end next year. So, and he looks like he's going to be really good. He was a guy that I really liked, Tucker Kraft. But I think Tucker Kraft went a little bit higher. I think Tucker Kraft went a little bit higher than what they went for. But tight end could absolutely be a position that they continue to draft, because if they don't feel comfortable with their current tight ends and they're not bringing back Charlie Warner, you kind of got to kind of put a bunch of tight ends in that room and see who rises to the top almost. Offensive tackle, edge, linebacker. Yeah, it's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. Yeah, I have no problems with Brendel. I think Brendel is more than serviceable at center. But again, he's, I think, 31, 32. So I think that's about the age where you start to think about future guys. And again, especially with offensive linemen, if you can develop some offensive linemen for like 2 years and you don't have to start them right away, that could absolutely be huge for their development. So yeah, I still think you need quality depth. Like, I would much rather have too much talent on the offensive line than not enough. So, because you see, man, one injury on the offensive line significantly changes the entire outlook of the whole O line. So I'm all for adding as much depth as possible to that position. Defensive back, O line, D line. Drake Jackson had knee surgery, so he should be ready to return in, I would assume, OTAs, but definitely training camp. I agree. We definitely need to go wide receiver. That's another position where I don't feel like you can have enough guys. Like you just keep stocking wide receivers. You keep stocking your O line room. You keep stocking your wide receiver room. You keep stocking your D line. There's certain positions where it's like just draft them, because if you hit on them, it's a great problem to have, opposed to not having enough depth or whatever. Like, just keep drafting. Um, let's see. Yeah, I'm big on. I think we need an edge rusher for sure. Edge rusher for sure. Um, I think we need depth at safety. If the 49ers aren't bringing back Gibson, I think you absolutely need to keep looking at depth. Obviously, you got Jair Brown. I think is a very quality safety and is going to turn out to be a quality starter for us. And then Talanoa Hufanga, hopefully he's good to go and ready to rock. And then, but you still need depth. Still need depth. Let's see what other positions. Are there any other positions that haven't been named yet? Thankfully, we don't have to worry about the 49ers drafting kicker this year. So that is a great, great sign. So we don't have to worry about that. Fullback. Yes. Yes. Yep. Fullback for sure. I have a hard time envisioning the 49ers moving off Kyle Juszczyk because of how important he is in the run game. I know he's expensive, and I know that Juice is going to be the highest paid fullback in the NFL, but also he's ultra important to what the 49ers do. So that's why, like, I've heard some of the conversations and, trying to like potentially cut Juice or things like that. And I've seen some of it on Twitter. I have a hard time wrapping my brain around it for the simple fact that Juice does so much. I can't envision the 49ers offense without Juice. Like, you literally look at all the gap scheme that they're running. He's the focal point. He is the focal point of that offense outside of Christian McCaffrey. When they attack the edges, it's Juice who is setting the edge or sealing or rolling the block, pulling. Like, Juice is so imperative to what the 49ers do offensively that I can't envision it. I understand the conversations that people are trying to have about the cap situation. I try not to worry about the cap. I really don't, because I have seen Parag Marathe like snap his fingers and whoosh, 40 million in cap has opened up. So I don't worry about the cap. I try not to make roster projections and decisions based on a mythical number that I know Parag can pull out the calculator and smash a number, and all of a sudden they have 60 million in cap. the number just keeps rising. Like, I don't understand the cap. I'm not going to pretend like I do. And I'll tell you, like, the perfect example of that. I remember going into 2021, we had 15 million in cap space. We had Juice as a free agent. We had Trent Williams as a free agent, and we had multiple other free agents. We had 15 mil going in to free agency. And I was stressing because I'm like, how do we keep Juice? How do we keep Trent? How is this going to work? You know what happened? Not only did Trent Williams become the highest paid left tackle in the history of the game, Juice became the highest paid fullback in the history of the game, and Parag signed Alex Mack and signed additional guys. And guess what? We had more cap space when it was all said and done after free agency that year than before. So I don't buy it. Like, I'm not going into this. Like, obviously the 49ers have to make financially driven decisions. That's a real thing. Like, we can't sit here and pretend like, oh yeah, it's funny money, we can pay everyone. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know all the tricks up Parag's sleeve, that he's just waiting to, oh, here's 50 million in cap space. Like, so I'm not going to cut someone figuratively over a situation that I could almost guarantee if they wanted to, they could find a way. So I don't see them cutting Juice from a performative standpoint. So I don't see why that would even be necessary. You can generate cap in other ways. You can extend players, restructure players. You can do things to be able to find that money. And so for me, Juice is such a crucial player to the offense. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see how, when you, even if you look at the cap figure that Kyle carries, you don't have a replacement. I think this would be a lot different conversation if they drafted his replacement last year. And so I was kind of like, I saw that, okay, Juice isn't getting any younger. He's only getting more expensive. So last year, I identified Hunter Luepke out of North Dakota State as a guy that I wanted the 49ers to bring in to be the Juice in waiting. Well, Dallas Cowboys got him, and he is the Dallas Cowboys starting fullback, and he is phenomenal. You're eventually going to hear about Hunter Luepke as a Kyle Juszczyk in the future. I remember when he played us. He had this one block where he blocked Dre Greenlaw, and then he got out in space, hooked Dre Greenlaw, got off Dre, and then blocked someone else. It was unbelievable. And I was like, yeah, this dude's legit. And he can run the football, and he can catch out of the backfield. He's just like Juice. So that was my process. I was like trying to find the Juice potential guy in training last year. They did bring in Jack Coletto, who's similar to Hunter Luepke, not as athletically gifted as Hunter Luepke. Coletto, I think, is on the Pittsburgh's practice squad, so we don't have a Juice replacement. So if that's really a thing that they want to do, they got to do it this year. They got to go to the draft, and trying to find a Juice replacement is a lot more difficult, I think, than it sounds. Like, oh, just you can find a fullback. Not really. Like, Juice is a very unique fullback. And the reason why we're able to do all the things that we do is because we have the unique fullback, and Kyle takes advantage of his skill set. So, in order to still do those same things, you have to find someone like that. And those guys aren't out there just like that. They're just not out there. So, um, because it's a rare breed. It's like an H back. It's a hybrid running back tight end. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a hybrid running back tight end, um, who can block, but is still very athletic for the position and can cut on a dime because they can do all those fake counter back insides where you take one step, cut, pull across the line, block the defensive end that weighs 40 more pounds than he does. Those guys are rare. So we'll see. We'll see how the Kyle Juszczyk thing goes, but that's also too why I'm not a big fan of cutting Juice, because one, we don't have his replacement on the roster, and two, I can't see the 49ers offense executing without it. Willis could be that. I don't see it yet. I still see Braden Willis as a kind of a traditional move tight end. I don't see the fullback integration just yet. I definitely see Braden Willis, to me, slots in more as kind of your move tight end, not necessarily the tight end you want at the point of attack, but your Delaney Walker. That's kind of where I see Braden Willis. Braden Willis is kind of like your Delaney Walker, even though Delaney Walker is a freaking legit tight end. Allow him that time to develop and potentially become that. I don't see it just yet, but potentially become that. So when it comes to the draft, I mean, it really does feel like most options are open. I would say quarterback. Quarterback we could see another Mr. Relevant type situation. Obviously, I don't think the 49ers have the last pick in the draft, but they could absolutely take and I mean, the 49ers taking a quarterback in the draft late opposed to being an undrafted free agent has actually benefited the 49ers. So I could expect them to potentially take a quarterback because I don't think Sam Darnold returns. I could see them keeping Brandon Allen as kind of the next backup behind Brock, and then draft someone super late. This is hilarious. This is exactly the guy that I was thinking of. This is the quarterback out of Memphis, Kentucky. So one of the blue teams. I'm thinking blue. He's from. You're gonna have to remind me. I don't know these guys. I don't know these guys well enough yet. I will after the draft. Kentucky. Boom. This guy can spin it. I just came across him the other day. My guy from damn, I want to make sure I shout him out correctly. QB. Damn, what is this? He's like one of the biggest quarterback accounts. He's massive. You know exactly who I'm talking about. I don't know why his thing isn't popping up. But he posted about him yesterday from the Shrine Bowl, and I was like, oh, he can spin it. The QB plug, my guy at the QB plug, just posted Devin Leary, and has some Brock Purdy traits and can spin it, moves well, even had I think, better spin rate on the ball than Brock. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of like a Brock, and he's probably gonna go late. So sure, I think the a quarterback could be in play. Wide receivers definitely going to be in play. Ooh, I got one for you guys. Running back. What do you think about that? Third round? Third time's a charm. Third time's a charm. Well, no. Fourth time? Is it fourth time? Uh dude, I don't know why every single name is escaping me right now. Um okay. Joe Williams was a fourth round pick. So they get a pass on that. Get a pass on that. Um, so he said 18th time's a charm. Oh, I listen, man. The 49ers absolutely hit on picks, but they cannot hit on an early round running back to save their life. I love those guys. I really do. They find some gems. They've proven me wrong on some draft picks that I thought maybe weren't that great. Um, but man, they have a hard time with that third round rookie or that third round running back. Um, Joe Williams was a fourth. Um, yeah, the most success that they've had in the draft with running backs was a sixth round running back in Elijah Mitchell out of Louisiana Lafayette and Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech, undrafted free agent. So I think they need to bring in running backs. I do. Um, and I actually do I like Frank Gore Jr. Just like I know you guys do in the draft. Like I know as 49er fans, we have a soft spot for the legacies, the Brandon Rice and the Frank Gore Jr. I could see Frank Gore Jr. actually fitting in a little bit. So my whole thought with that is he's probably going to be a late round draft pick. Why not? If you could get Frank Gore Jr. in the sixth for the culture, and he does have a very he runs like his dad. He actually looks a little faster. Um, he's not gonna burn you, but he's got that sudden like one cut ability, kind of like his dad. Frank wasn't some freak of nature. Frank was just a bulldozer, and he knew how to one cut you in the hole in a phone booth. Just somehow, just a master of leverage. He didn't move a lot, but he knew how to affect your leverage and set you up, cut back inside, just whoop, whoop. His son's got some of that. I wouldn't mind it. And Frank's in the building. So you remember last year the Cowboys took Deuce Vaughn. I think out of Kansas State. Dude was like 5'5". Um, I could see something similar like that. But I could see wide receiver, or excuse me, running back for sure. I know Justin has his eyes on a couple guys. Ray Davis has stood out. He's Ray Davis was a guy. I think it might have been Justin who put me on Ray Davis. For whatever reason, I have this thing with running backs, like where I can tell almost instantly, like Like, this guy's going to be really good. And it's, again, one of the reasons why I love scouting so much is because, like, you don't get that with everyone. You don't just, like, watch every player and be like, "Oh, yeah, that guy's gonna be good. Oh, yeah, that guy's gonna be good." There's something that sticks out about certain prospects. I think of the very first time I the very first carry I put my eyes on of I believe he was a true freshman, Todd Gurley. Now, you might be like, "Oh, of course, Todd Gurley." I had no idea who Todd Gurley was. No priors. I had no idea who he was. Um, Obviously playing at a big school, but I remember watching the first carry. First carry of Todd Gurley, I was like, he's generational. And obviously he was until he got hurt and kind of broke down, but Todd Gurley was that guy. And I just remember him. I remember the first carry I saw of Travis Etienne. I was like, oh, first carry, no priors, Travis Etienne. Um, Kareem Hunt out of Tulane. I threw on a random bowl game. It was Tulane versus who knows. It was like the mayonnaise bowl. I have no idea what it was. And I'm like, who's this running back? Zero priors. No clue. It's Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt ended up being a baller. Kenneth Walker was another guy. Huge on Kenneth Walker. Those are just recent running backs. But yeah, I think I saw like Ray carry the ball on one play, no priors, and I was like, oh, he's running that thing a little different. So now, obviously, got to do the scouting, got to watch more and learn more. But one of my favorite things about scouting is that there are certain players that they jump at you. And for no apparent reason either. So I'm all for that. Wide receiver, I'm gonna be scouting heavily as well. I've told you before, I want a Demario Douglas. I want a Pop Douglas. I want a guy who's kind of got that Antonio Brown in him. Smaller, 5'10", about 200, 205, but just is a baller. Quick, short area quickness, start stop ability, great hands, great toughness, leadership intangible. That's what Demario Douglas was. That's why I'm bummed that we didn't get Demario, because he already proved in his rookie season with the Patriots that he's legit. Big time legit. Justin put me on Dontavian Wicks last season out of Virginia. That was a home run hit on Justin. And I just hopped on the hype train. I was like, oh yeah, I see it. I see it. He showed me before the Senior Bowl, and I did a little research. We started watching Dontavian Wicks out of Virginia. He had I think it was a big time junior year. He got hurt his senior year. Didn't produce all that much, but man, when you watch Dontavian out there, whoo, that boy cooking. Justin, I don't know if you saw it. Someone did a redraft. And they took Dontavian Wicks at pick 31. That's how you know you're hitting. When you are identifying third, fourth, fifth, sixth round draft prospects that in redrafts years down the line, they're in the first round, that's a hit. That is a huge hit. When you can take mid to late round guys and they're perceived as, oh well, if we did this again, probably go in the first round. That was me with Keenan Allen. I was so bullish on Keenan Allen. I said Keenan Allen's a top 5 pick. I said Keenan Allen's a top 5 pick. He's a top 5 talent. Maybe not pick, but top 5 talent. Keenan Allen went in the 3rd round. What? Come on. Keenan Allen went in the 3rd round. Are you kidding me? Who's drafting out here, man? They just let anyone draft? How are you going to let Keenan Allen go in the 3rd round? How is Vance Brickhand McDonald going ahead of Keenan Allen? How does that work? You could see at Rice that Vance McDonald could not catch a cold to save his life in the middle of the pandemic. Man, I apologize for that joke. It's just such a triggering experience for me as someone who likes to evaluate draft prospects. I scouted Vance McDonald. He developed into an okay tight end, but he couldn't catch in college. Like it, that was like the biggest takeaway from Vance was he can't catch. Let's take him in the 2nd round. Why not? I was like, oh my! I was like, God. And then we pass on. We passed on Keenan Allen for Will Redmond, like coming off an ACL, like sick. Good thing we needed. Good thing we needed an ACL cornerback, and we needed a cornerback, Rashard Robinson, who didn't even play football that year. He was suspended. That worked out well. Sorry, my draft PTSD. That's how you know draft season's kicking up. This is how you know it's real. This is how you know, like, I'm not here to fake it. Like, I'm invested. That my eyes starting to twitch and my PTSD blood is boiling because I'm thinking about all the draft disasters and all the guys that were passed over and have had so much success. Oh, Rashard Robinson, help me. Justin says, some guys stick out to you, man. I went into USC versus Arizona looking to scout Caleb Williams, and Jacob Cowing had a 4-touchdown game, put on a show. Yeah, you've been on Jacob Cowing big time. I just need to do the work. That's the hard part about the draft process is you got to be dedicated. You got to be dedicated to breaking it down and watching as much as you can. So that's kind of where we're at, man. That's kind of where we're at. Just getting into it, identifying positions of need, trying to identify the right prospect. And again, that's the hardest part, is because for me, there's two evaluations. There is the guy that I like that I don't think the 49ers are going to go after. And then there's the guys that I think the 49ers like and are going to go after. Like I'm trying to evaluate through 2 different lenses, which is challenging because I obviously know what I would do with this roster and this whole scouting process. But I know that's not what the 49ers are going to do. The 49ers typically, they don't go trendy. They kind of go to the beat of their own drum. They tend to draft for need. I don't love drafting for need because I feel like it can get you in trouble. It can get you into a Cameron Latu situation. So I'm not the biggest fan of drafting for need, but it is they do that. They do draft for need. I'm definitely would consider myself more of a best player available kind of guy, where I would much prefer taking the talent that I think is going to hit opposed to like, we need this, we need to fill this spot with someone. Um, and that's not necessarily what they do, uh, but that's how it feels a little bit. So you have to have a little bit of two different thought processes. Who do you think fits what the 49ers want, the type of archetype that they go after? And does said guy fit that perceived mold archetype? Um, and that's part of the process. It's like you have to scout. You have to scout our scouting department to try to just to from the outside looking in to be like, what do they like? What are their trends? What are their traits that they tend to pick up on? And so I have a pretty good feel for safety. Linebacker is spot on. The perfect example of linebacker is we're going to go to the combine, and I'm going straight to the guys who were played safety. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to look at all the converted safeties to linebacker, and those are the guys that I'm going to go scout because I don't see the 49ers going after anyone that's a linebacker that doesn't have those traits of being a converted safety to linebacker. That's just how it works. It's like clockwork. Like Jalen Graham, converted safety to linebacker. D. Winters plays linebacker like a safety. I believe Dre Greenlaw was a converted safety. And Fred Warner was, we didn't know what he was, but he wasn't a middle linebacker until the 49ers made him one. So you get a sense of who they go after. You get a sense of like those traits, right? So that's kind of how we scout. We got to scout two ways: scout who we like, scout who we think the 49ers are going to like. Um, it's not an exact science. Sometimes they go against the grain. Like Aaron Banks kind of went against the grain a little bit. He was a big bodied 6'6", like 330, 340 offensive guard. And that was like, oh, we had Daniel Brunskill as our starter at that point. It's like, ooh. Typically I'm like, oh, they're going more outside zone. But look at the way the 49ers run game has evolved. There's way more power scheme. There's way more gap scheme than there was 3 years ago. So it matches what they're trying to do. So if I'm scouting offensive linemen, I'm probably going to be trying to find more fluid offensive linemen that can run both outside zone and gap scheme. I think that's something that you have to be able to do if you're going to be able to work in this offense. I think tackles are a little bit different of an eval just because you have to be a baseline pass blocker but you also have to be able to get out and move, get to second level, cut off backside blocks, do all those different types of things. So I think there's a little bit more fluidity with the tackle, but when you're kicking guys inside center guard, you have to be able to move, but you also have to have power. That you can't just be a pure zone guy, I don't think, anymore. In the 49ers offense, I think they need a little bit more power, to be perfectly honest. So that's kind of going to be one of the things that I'm kind of looking at for offensive line. So you see my thought process. You can see, like, this is all straight off the dome. This isn't anything prepared. Like, this is I'm about that life. You know what I'm saying? I'm about that life. I don't do this because it's like the cool thing to do. No, I genuinely love player evaluation. Like that is probably my first love of all of this stuff that I do, all the social media, all the content, everything. I love player eval. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing. And hey, I'm not going to call it cockiness. I'm going to call it confident. I'm confident in my ability to evaluate. Very confident. I will go toe to toe with even people that I think are the experts at the position. I've I've absolutely I won't name his name because I respect him too much. Um he's like he is to me like the O-line expert when it comes to draft evals. And we didn't see eye to eye on Abe Lucas. He didn't think Abe Lucas was that good of a guy. He didn't think Abe Lucas was that good of a prospect. And I'm like, y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. And I didn't back down. I said, respectfully disagree. Abe Lucas is that guy. And he is. He absolutely is. He proved it as a rookie. He was hurt last year, but as a rookie, bro put clamps on Nick Bosa. Who's doing that? What rookie right tackle comes in, puts clamps on Nick Bosa in a defensive player of the year, campaign? Puts clamps on Nick Bosa as a rookie. I'm going to take that W and I'm going to run that W. And again, it's no disrespect to my guy because my guy breaks down every prospect. That's like his job. He's draft O-line evaluator. Literally what he does. He didn't like Abe Lucas. I didn't go, "Oh, maybe I should rethink Abe Lucas." I said, "No, you're wrong." And that's why I think, like for me, the whole eval process has to be individual to yourself. If like you're really about that life. If you're really interested in evaluation, at a certain point you got to break away from what other people think because you're going to come across someone that you genuinely respect and look up to in the eval game, and you're going to disagree with them. And you have to have the stones to stand on your eval to be like, listen, man, you're the expert. You're the guy who's been doing this for years. But fundamentally, I disagree. And you gotta stand true to your eval. You gotta stand true to your eyes. You gotta stand true to what you believe in. Guess what? You're not gonna hit every time, and that's okay. That's okay. Like, look at the 49ers. Look at every team in the NFL. There's no such thing as a 100% hit rate in the draft. So you're gonna miss. You guys are gonna suck that you thought were gonna be good. But for me, all of that is a learning lesson, right? It's all a learning lesson. You have to learn from it. Like, I was critical of Derwin James coming out of Florida State because I didn't think a team would use Derwin James to his abilities. I thought they were going to play him as a kind of like cover safety and take away his ability to play in the box, to rush off the edge. I didn't think a team was going to use Derwin like he needed to be used. And he went to the Chargers, and the Chargers used him exactly like he was successful at Florida State. And that helped me. That helped me not scoff at Fred Warner. And that's why I love the draft, because of that lesson I learned with Derwin allowed me to be open to Fred Warner. Fred Warner coming out of BYU was we didn't know if he was a nickel, a safety, an edge rusher, an outside linebacker. I don't even think people were talking about Fred Warner as a middle linebacker. But because I saw what a team did with Derwin James's versatility, I was like, oh yeah, Fred, I'm not going to be out on Fred just simply because he doesn't have a position. Fred's a baller. You can see it. He's really freaking athletic. And if he lands in the right spot and someone uses him to the best of his ability, he's going to be awesome. Did I think Fred Warner was going to be what Fred is today? Absolutely not. But I will never forget that correlation. And I remember thinking that watching Fred Warner was literally thinking back to my eval of Derwin and just being like, you know what? I'm not going to stay rigid with that. I'm going to evolve my eval. And I think that's how you have to be. If you're really interested in kind of getting into this as a hobby, you have to be fluid. You're not going to hit. You're going to see certain traits that you like. Some will translate, some won't. The biggest thing that I've learned is you have to find as hard as you can who the person is. You have to figure out what makes these guys tick. And I think the 49ers have put a huge emphasis in that, which is why they've hit on so many of the guys that they have, is they're drafting good people. For every George Kittle, there's a Kadarius Toney. And Kadarius Toney, again, is another guy I've talked about a lot when I talk about the draft, because Kadarius Toney, all throughout that year, I was like, oh, this guy's going to be so deadly in the league. This guy has all the traits, all the skill. And then I listened to him on one podcast and I completely took him off my board because I knew he wasn't built. He wasn't built for it up here, to the point where he had probably some of the best talent in that class from the wide receiver position. But you scout the person and he just ain't it. And look at what Kadarius Toney was inactive, a healthy scratch for the Super Bowl because he's a knucklehead. So to me, win, that's a W, right? That's being able to evaluate and project out. The problem with Kadarius is not his ability. He has all the ability in the world, and you can see that when he gets the ball in his hands. The reason why you have to look at the whole picture is because you got to be able to project out. Is Kadarius going to be able to fit in? No, he got traded and he's got benched for a Super Bowl. Just saying, there's so many things. There's so many things that you can learn, you can grasp, you can evolve and change your evals and just go to each one. So, like I love this time of the year. I'm glad we had this conversation though, because I feel like it's kind of getting me a little bit re-energized to get into the draft. I'm not going to lie. Football's kind of been pissing me off this last 2 weeks, week and a half, I should say. Just kind of all of it. I'm kind of pissed. I'm not going to lie. And it's been challenging a little bit to post what I want, to wrap my head around certain things to even think about the draft. Uh, so I think I think this is going to be good. So being able to go to Indy third time, I'll be covering the combine. Uh, get back, watch some field drills, talk to these guys. And again, my favorite thing about last year was being able to talk to the guys and being like I came across Demario Douglas by talking to him first. I scouted the person with Demario Douglas first, and then I backfilled the rest of the tape and the field drills and all those types of things. And man, it's a fun process, man. It's a fun process when we can actually like get out here and actually do some scouting, like up close and personal scouting. So I'm ready. I'm ready to get back. I need to get over. I need to shake this loss. Um, this loss has been challenging. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's been a challenge. I don't know if it's um, just because it's been. I put so much effort into this, into what I do, that obviously that win would have been a huge payoff. No, it just would have been it's so great to get that W, and it stings, man, because I'm invested. Like I'm in, like even this question, like right here, John says, just wondering what kind of work you do, Brad. You're literally looking at it. This is my work. This is my job. I spend, man, I cannot tell you how much I was working the last like 2 months. Like I already work probably 12 to 14 hours a day just making 49ers content. But during the playoff run, throughout the Super Bowl, I was putting in minimum 16-hour days. Uh, sometimes 18, sometimes forcing myself to go to sleep, to get 3 hours and get back up and start making 49ers content again. That's just how invested I am in what I do. Like this is what I do. And I'm absolutely blessed that this is what I get to do and this has become my career, which is crazy. That I was able to do this literally out of thin air and make this happen. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hours, and it takes a lot of ups and downs. And so that's why it's like I feel like the Super Bowl loss hit hit especially hard, right? Because it was just like I wasn't ready to be done, man. I wasn't ready to be done. I was ready to keep grinding 16, 17 hours, but after the loss, it was just like so deflating. So deflating. And I'm not a big like shit on the 49ers guy. So uh right now isn't my favorite time, you know. Um when everyone's talking fire this guy, cut that guy. Uh My guy says, just to be clear, Brad is also a therapist. When we get those painful losses, I try my best. It's the best way that I can cope with the losses as well. But yeah, this one's been tough. I think again, just like I said, you know, I pour my heart and soul into this. I spend countless hours doing this So, yeah, I felt that loss. I felt it. I felt it pretty hard. So I'm still feeling it. So the hope is that, we can get one. We can get one here pretty soon. But until then, uh uh but I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. So you guys have been helping me. Hey, I'm your therapist. You guys are my therapy. I think it works. We're like a co-op. You guys help me. I appreciate when you guys keep, the positive energy, all that good stuff. Cause listen, I get it. There's a time and a place to be ultra critical of the team and players and all that stuff. But man, after a loss, that's just not what I want to do. And no one else has to do what I do. That's fine. I clearly have. I came into this game doing it my way. I did it no one else's way. So as I continue to go through this, I'm going to continue to do it my way. I don't got to bend the knee to anyone. I don't got to bend the knee to other content creators. I don't got to bend the knee to any fans that, oh, why don't you say this? I don't got to. That's why. I do what I do. I do what I want to do because I control what I want to do. And I came into this game with a clear, concise plan of what I wanted to do, and I freaking executed it. So why am I going to change now? Y'all wanna go crazy? Go for it. That ain't me. I don't got to do it. I don't. So now is a good time that we get a focus on how do we get back? How do we rebuild? How do we start attacking? How do we go out here and develop some prospects, huh? How do we go find the next crop of 49ers legends? That's what I'm focused on hopefully getting a defensive coordinator in here. I think that would be phenomenal. I would love I would love to figure out what's going on with our defensive coordinator. I would love to put the Ayuk stuff to bed, or at least just not talk about it as much. It's like, damn, we really gonna be talking about trading Brandon Ayuk through the draft, like, because that's the target. If we're keeping it a buck and we're being honest with ourselves, is I would say after the draft we'll be in the clear for the most part. A different set of challenges will probably arise, but man, I just all that good stuff. Um, can we go and get Burns? Oh, hey man, listen, I'm low key. I like that the perception of Burns is super down. I don't know why people have a hard time understanding like of how crappy the Panthers were last year and probably how deflating it was for Burns to have to go out and play without a contract and now is potentially going to get franchise tag. Um, and then the report came out that Burns is wanting 30 million a year and everyone is crapping on him. So it's like I think the Brian Burns, whoever Burns plays for next year, as long as he gets out of the Panthers organization have done Burns so dirty. As long as Burns gets out of that organization and goes somewhere else, again, you talk about scouting the person. Brian Burns is the kind of guy who's going to sit back, look at all this slander, look at all this trash talking. He's going to internalize it and he's going to use it as fuel. I guarantee it. I 150% guarantee he's going to do that. So if anyone saves Brian Burns, and it might not be the 49ers, I understand that that is a tough task because you're going to have to trade for him and pay him. So I look at it as whoever's going to go out and get Brian Burns, they're going to get the best version of Brian Burns. They are going to get someone who's pissed off, motivated, and hungry, and doesn't have to think about the contract at all anymore. So whoever goes out and gets Brian, I mean, part of the saving grace is like, well, Montez Sweat got moved for a second. Ooh. I don't know. We'll see. In the back of my head, you know, I want BB. So we'll see what's good. But appreciate everyone tapping in. Definitely a late live. But again, wanted to kind of just get some draft talk going. I know I haven't done any. I know I have been a terrible guide so far through draft season. So definitely want to pick that up. And, you know, now, you know, I'll be in Indy, so might as well get things cooking. Appreciate all you guys, man. Grab your cookies on the way out. Shout out to OG SDS. Appreciate you guys. Shout out again. I'm going to keep saying it. Appreciate everyone vibing through this off season. It's definitely been a difficult start, but hopefully we can get back to normal here pretty soon. And we keep moving. Appreciate you guys. I'm out of here for now. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.